Right, guys, welcome back. This is the Above Average FPL podcast. My name's Adam, and this week I'm not joined by Baker, but we've got an able stand-in, a man who is absolutely everywhere. And I think he was on this show before he was at the heights of Sky Sports and the FPL show. So, Pras, welcome along, mate. How are you doing? I'm going to stop you there, Pras, mate, because people cannot hear you, and that's on me. I do apologise. So just give me 1 second, guys, and I will make sure that Pras can be heard, and then we can sort that out. So let me just do one thing. Hope everyone's doing good in the chat. Talk amongst yourselves, basically, because I've messed something up. Yeah, something like that would be good. Yeah. So let me just let me see if that's good. Praz, if you want to say hello and see if it works.
Yep. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, there you go, mate. You're in.
Okay,
All
excellent.
Good. All
excellent.
Good.
So what I was saying was, it's one of those Sundays where typically when you've had a shit FPL weekend and you've had a bad Man United related weekend, you just want to, basically go out. Don't go on Twitter, don't listen to content. So I have huge respect for you guys for doing this every Sunday night, even though sometimes you don't want to sort of be discussing your team or discussing your FPL team.
It sounds like a little dig at Tottenham there, because like last year Tottenham, 2 years ago Tottenham, it hasn't been, well, 2 years ago Tottenham was fine, but last year's Tottenham wasn't fun. Like, it wasn't fun to watch, wasn't fun to come and do on a Sunday. You're right, and you just have to accept that that's what it is, and you come and say hello, and then people in the chat cheer you up and stuff like that. So, you get over it pretty quickly. I mean, I tend to get over it quite quickly. I think Baker does as well. FPL wise, I mean, look, we make decisions before the deadline, and then what happens after that. So things can be annoying.
Exactly.
But,
and I'm looking at the chat. Obviously, the people who are flying want more FPL content, so they're here. I can see 89 points. I can see 86 points. They want more FPL. The guys who are on 60s or 50s, they're obviously, also checked out. So good to see you guys. Well done for being here and for having a great week.
Yeah. Cool. And just a shout out, just to say, obviously Baker's not around today. He's got some health things he needs to sort out, but he'll be back next week. Hopefully no major alarm there. And we wish him well, whatever he's doing, wherever he's sitting right now. Also a shout to Kev, who has dropped a lovely €20 super chat in there for Baker. So much love to you, Kev, as well. Kev is one of our patrons, so thanks very much for your support as always, Kev. And someone else has just dropped a super chat as well. Chintan says 119 points with no chips, baby. And then he says, just kidding, 71 like everyone else.
Had us in the first half.
Exactly, one of those. Exactly that. Hello to you, Chintan. Hope you are well. Thank you very much again for joining us. And as you say, everyone's sort of 70-ish points, I think, is kind of where we've all kind of landed this week. I mean, if you didn't have Son or Ferguson, I think 70-ish points was about it.
Or Alvarez.
Or Alvarez, yeah, true. Alvarez has topped some up as well. So I've got some scores to look at. So hopefully, I'll just pull up Baker's score very quickly first. So Baker's had a small red arrow, 74 points, like everyone. Onana in goal, Estupinan, Chilwell, and Udogie for 5 points. He had Rashford, Foden, Maddison, Bruno, and Saka. So he brought Maddison back in this week. Can't remember who it was for. I think it was Mitoma. And then Haaland captain, and then Nicholas Jackson had Turner bench, Archer bench, Saliba bench, Kabore bench. I think he was very committed to that team, and his decision was between Estupinan and Saliba, and obviously quite unlucky to have a late clean sheet wipe out there. Unfortunately, I mean,
of course you can smirk. It's okay, Adam.
I don't get me wrong. I celebrated that like hell. I won't tell you what he said in the WhatsApp when I said that. And then our teams. So after you, mate, you can read yours out on the right.
Sure. Pickford in goal, Chilwell, Ruben Dias, Estupinan. Do you know, I was debating Udogie versus Ruben Dias, and I thought Ruben Dias nailed clean sheet against Fulham, so I'll go with him. And then, if Udogie outscores him in the second game against Sheffield United, I'll take it. As it happens, he's outscored him already. So that's a little bit of a regret. But anyway, we go midfield. I've got Saka, Bruno, Rashford, who all did fine. I think we'll talk about the Man United game and about those guys. And then I had Sterling. No regrets with Sterling. I had a debate between Sterling and Maddison, like many other people. And I think, yeah, I'll be patient. And then Mbumo, again, coming through, superstar. Jackson and Haaland up top. Honestly, if you remove these 40 points from everyone's scores, it's been a terrible week.
Someone's just pointed out that we are 7 places apart in the world. That's nuts. I've only just noticed that as well myself. So, but yeah, no, fair enough. Decent enough week. Everything's kind of happened as you kind of expected. Obviously Pickford. I think we were unlucky with Pickford. I really do think we were a bit unlucky with Pickford, to be fair. The own goal was just like the cherry on top of everything that we've seen so far this season for Everton. Chilwell, Colwill, double Chelsea defence. Thanks very much, guys. Perfect. Udogie, and then Saka, Bumo. Bruno brought in Bowen this week, got 7 points. Was probably not enough, as you alluded to on Friday with your tweet, which I agreed with. But, wanted the punt and never even considered Son. So, I haven't missed out on that haul other than I've just literally missed it. And then Foden brought in last week. Haaland captain, João Pedro 2 points. And this is where it gets annoying because I've got Turner on the bench, that's fine. But I've got Archer 12 points. And I've got Saliba and Kabore. But what we just say about Archer is that Archer was in my team on Thursday in the pod on the video that we released. He was in my team with the what is it, the SKLW tournament. I submitted that team with Archer, and then De Zerbi comes out on Friday and says Welbeck's injured, and it's like, okay. And I sent a message to Baker. I was like, surely João Pedro starts here, and surely it makes sense to go with him because Brighton are a 2.5 plus XG team on a good day, and Sheffield United are Sheffield United. And then I did say at the bottom, I went, but it's Everton, ha ha. And that ha just regret. I just have so much regret with that. And he looked good. He looked good at the week. And I don't like hedging as well. I don't like hedging. So having the Saliba benched for the Bruno hedge was absolutely fine with that. No problem. Archer and Pickford. That was I was accepting that one, but I didn't like it. And as soon as the opportunity came up with João Pedro to get him in there and to avoid that hedge, I was like, yeah, I'm in. Let me get
I think that was the right call. It's just a bad outcome. I think if Pedro starts, he's on pens, man. I mean,
exactly. There's that as well.
You have to do that.
Yeah. That is it. So that's it for the games. For everyone that's watching, thanks very much already to you. There are, how many are you? 146 of you. If you do enjoy the content that myself and Baker and Pras do each week, then make sure you drop a like on a video, and if you want to see more from us, make sure you hit subscribe. That's absolutely fantastic. We would really appreciate it. So drop a like for Baker sitting on the toilet. That's exactly what he's doing right now. Just drop a like for Baker sitting on the toilet. Yeah, do that and we will be entirely grateful. Small change this week, so we're trying something new. We've had some feedback about sizing of the grass. We've had some feedback about some of the audio and stuff, so we're going to be a bit more direct with our order of how we do the games. So the wheel is taking a rest for now. We will get some feedback again, see if this works better. It may come back at some point, but for now we're going to trial this without the wheel. Apologies, but we're going to start with Tottenham. We're going to start with.
Of course we are.
Of course, of course. That's the only thing that's making me smile this weekend. And he's on the thumbnail, right? Son's on the thumbnail. You'll see that. You might have seen it on Twitter, and if you're watching it now back, you'll see on the thumbnail it's "Here Comes the Sun." And yeah, Podge, like that's a mashup between it's a mashup that is as well. Postecoglou obviously, has obviously dropped Richarlison here. I mean, we didn't think he was injured. I mean, and he came on and played. I mean, I feel like that experiment's over now. I just can't see how you can play Son at number 9, everything go exactly as you want it to, and then just go, yeah, I'll just chuck Richarlison back in. Especially since he's just bought in, another wide man in Brennan Johnson as who could support that number 9 role if he comes off the right and whatever. But for me, Tottenham started slowly. The defensive work for the goal wasn't great, but fair enough to Burnley. Good move and good finish. And then Son's first finish was glorious. Romero's second finish was better. like the finishes just seemed to get better as he went up through. And it's exactly what we've come to expect from Postecoglou. Very high, very aggressive. Udogie getting all the way forward, underlapping. And whilst I don't think Solomon did loads, I thought he was busy enough on that left-hand side that, allowed Udogie to under and overlap and create more problems. I mean, an interesting thing here is that I think we had like 11 key passes between the wide guys, and none of them were crosses. Like we put like no crosses into the box. I think one maybe. We put one cross into the box in the entire game.
It's basically like Robertson, right? I mean, in his prime, in the couple of years or the years before, if you're excellent at overlapping, underlapping, you're in the box. You're not actually crossing the ball. You're making a key pass into a player who's actually running late into the box and actually shooting. And I think their fullbacks do that. I mean, what do you think about Porro? Porro is very interesting as well if he plays, and for me, even more interesting than Udogie, especially as somebody who doesn't own him.
Well, I mean, he's technically. I mean, I think he's improving as a passer. That's clear. And I think against teams that will allow us to, I mean, like Burnley played quite a high line, and you won't get that from most promoted sides, and you'll mostly get low blocks. But they just played a high line and allow Porro to distribute, particularly for that last Son goal. I think he's really comfortable in that sort of inverted fullback position in the number 6. He's very good. He's not going to be the wide guy getting the crosses anymore, because he kind of fills in and he kind of pushes up. It's weird because when we attack, I think I mentioned this last week or the week before, when we attack, it's because the number 8 that isn't Maddison, whether that's Sarr or whether it be Bentancur in the future or whatever, because he has license to go into the box, Porro almost comes into that position as like a second 8 almost, with Basuma behind. It didn't look so much like that this week. I know positionally we kind of almost had like a 4-2-4 lineup, and we'll come to that a little bit later when we talk about City. But yeah, do I like him as an asset? I mean, look, we conceded a couple of goals. I mean, clean sheets are just like dead. So I mean, would I consider Pedro Porro over Udogie though? No, I still think Udogie's the better asset. He's more direct. He's actually up that end of the pitch. Could Porro get assists against teams with high lines? Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, talking about Burnley before we get into your attack, I think it was just a schooling, right, of being in the Premier League. I mean, the first game against Man City, you could see that they were respecting the opponent. They thought, and they came up okay. I mean, maybe Man City were also sort of taking it easy. It was their first game, whatever. But the second game, you felt like away to Villa. Okay, they got some, they got a hammering, but it was away. So this game, I didn't think Spurs would score 5 and they would get this kind of a beating. Now, this could be on Spurs being very good, but it was also Burnley with the high line, with them playing out risky passes from the back, basically not respecting the opponent and playing as if it's a championship game. Now, whether that means they stop doing this and they become a little bit more pragmatic, Company doesn't seem to be a manager who will just accept that we need to change the way we play. So it'll be interesting actually on how this pans out in terms of Burnley, because on paper, they don't look like the same team that we can target, the ones like Luton or some of the others, but
there's part of that. I think there's part of it that's just like almost an expectation that because of the way they did come up and because it's Vincent Company, everyone just thinks actually they're better. I mean, because they're obviously a completely different outfit to when they were up with Sean Dyche. I mean, it's a completely different way of playing football. So everyone kind of just expects that technically and tactically they'd be better, but actually in this league, it's got remnants of Blackpool about them in the way that they're just really aggressive and open, and good teams will just, as you say, school them, tear them apart. Now they'll get some success out of it and they'll score goals, but they're going to be hit hard on counters. They're going to be hit hard in teams that can attack quickly. That's the same thing, I know, but still, they will get punished.
So tell me then, attack. Obviously, people are purring over a Spurs attack. Must be a nice feeling as a fan. Son up top, as you mentioned, I think if it's worked, there's no reason to change it. But Richarlison doesn't come across as a guy who'll just take it. I mean, do you think he switches it around and Richarlison plays off the left at all? Do you think that works? Or
I don't think it's necessary now. I don't think, because we've got Perisic and Solomon that can play left side. He's almost got now 6 attacking players. So he's got Perisic and Solomon left. He's got Son and Richarlison in the middle, and he's got Kulusevski and Johnson on the right. That's kind of, I feel, who his 6 are going to be, and two of those I can, well, no, one of those I can guarantee is going to be Son. Now, again, on the right-hand side, I'm not sure what we're going to do. On the left-hand side, I'm not sure, but I would imagine that he would more likely pair up Solomon with Son and do what he did this week, which I think a lot of us have been screaming out for, is Perisic and Richarlison. We've been seeing in the last few weeks, he's been bringing off Richarlison and then bringing Perisic on and pushing Son into the middle. Like, that's completely pointless because he can't head the ball. Like, this is the thing about crossing into the box. I mean, there's no point in crossing into the box when there's, Kulusevski's never headed the ball in his life. Son rarely heads the ball. Udogie's on the same side as him, so he's not really, like, if Udogie and Porro were almost switched, then that might work, but they're not. So it doesn't make any sense to me that we would do it in that way. So I think in my order of priority, I mean, people are looking at Liverpool and Arsenal, fair enough, as more difficult games. They could both be very open games as well. Arsenal today looked like they could be hurt on the counter. Like, United had good chances when they moved the ball quickly through them, because Arsenal spend a lot of time, again, they're an aggressive team, they spend a lot of time in the right areas of the pitch. There's chances there. And that's a game where someone like Porro could be, like, really, really good. And Liverpool, like, it's Solomon against Trent could be fun. And then I think they'll have Van Dijk back at that point, but I don't think they're terrible games for attackers. They're not great for defenders, but I don't think they're terrible games for attackers. Double up feels too much, and I feel like if we were looking at Richarlison at 7 million and saying, this is a no-brainer, then how is a 9 million midfielder playing up front in a team that attacks like this any different?
And possibly on penalties as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'd almost bank on that now. Like, just because 3 goals, captain, I just can't see him giving him up. And I think Maddison would respect that. So.
I feel similar. I mean, I would almost say, would you, I don't know, you guys own Maddison already. But
no,
if somebody owned, no, oh, you don't?
No, I don't.
Yeah, you don't. So if you were to pick one today, just one Spurs midfielder, you say you'd pick Son?
Yeah.
But we have to factor in the small chance that Richarlison does take it back and they try it for one more game. Maybe it's Sheffield United because it's an easy game, or do you think there's no chance? Maybe.
Well, okay, that's fair. Maybe he gets one more dig at it, but Richarlison's already had 3. I think Son getting 2 stabs at it now with Liverpool and Arsenal coming up, which I think Postecoglou will see as critical games, to get points from. Then yeah, I just feel that Son will get it. I just feel that Son will be the man to start up top.
Exciting. We have another midfielder, and this one is actually worth the budget, right? I mean, because they've got money flowing. So now it'll get trickier to sort of afford if you wanted to have a Man United, Arsenal midfielder, Son. They take up budget, plus Haaland, of course.
Agreed. On to Chelsea Forest. So, I mean, Chelsea are obviously unlucky here. I mean, you as a Sterling/Jackson owner, / both of them, tell me how your emotions were here.
Mixed because watching the highlights, there's not much. It's not like they were banging the door. So people will think, looking at this XG plot, that they've created the same amount of XG, almost the same as Spurs, right? People will look at Sterling's XG data or XGI data and say he's created almost the same XGI as Maddison. But in reality, Chelsea's chances were basically moments. There was that huge, obviously, Jackson chance, which if you haven't watched it, watch it. If you own Sterling and Jackson, don't watch it. So it was those moments that created the XG. But if you were to use the game and watch the game with your eyes and predict the future, you would say Chelsea attack is in trouble, Spurs attack is flowing. So that's basically where sometimes, just the XG plot doesn't tell the story. I think it was a struggle. But as an owner, now an FPL lens, I'm still patient because that's what you expect. I mean, this team is still rebuilding. They've got a lot of injuries. They've got a raw striker who will miss chances. And some games Sterling will have the space to create and score. Some games he won't. But as long as the fixtures are there, I'm not really panicking. Everybody will be dumping every single Chelsea asset by game week 9 because their run is horrible after that.
Yeah.
So it's a question of how much patience do you want to keep. I am generally a patient manager, and if I've gone with a triple up for the moment, I'm going to stick with that. I can at least see two of them, if not all three by game week 8. But at the moment, I think you just stay patient, because ultimately, if Jackson scores that chance, then you're not really complaining at all.
That's fair. That's fair. What are your thoughts on Chilwell at the moment? I mean, there's a few things here. Obviously, Chelsea aren't keeping clean sheets, although their underlying data isn't too bad. They're like 6th best in the league right now. He is still playing essentially as a left forward, but he's getting hauled off after like 60 minutes, 62 minutes. Is that a good thing? I don't know. I'm trying to work out whether that's a good thing, because you kind of hope that he gets involved in something in the first half, and then him getting pulled off at 60 minutes only for Chelsea to concede seems like dream scenario to me. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm just really confused. His minutes are really bad right now.
I mean, the Chelsea fans basically say Mudryk doesn't help, because Mudryk doesn't he occupies the same spaces. He doesn't have the game awareness yet to sort of say Chilwell's going to play on this end, and when he overlaps, I need to underlap, and so on and so forth. So basically, Pochettino tried it over preseason. It didn't work. So now it's one or the other, which I think eventually Chilwell will just play left back as he's meant to play, and Mudryk will come into the team, or Palmer could come into the team and play there. Palmer can play left or right, or even in the middle. So it's a team in flux. They've had injuries. I mean, Nkunku was playing, we wouldn't have this debate. I mean, he'd be creating, and we'd be owning him instead of Jackson. So it is what it is. I think you just have to live with it. Again, like I said, maximum of 3-4 weeks is how much you'll hold Chilwell. Just ride it out. I mean, there's no reason to sort of shift, especially Chilwell. I mean, if I was to rank the desperation of exit, I would say Chilwell is the last one there, because no one's keeping a clean sheet. At least this guy can get you a goal, like legitimately get you a goal any game. So sort of just be patient.
Yeah. His XA was up at 0.4. No, not so much XG. Forest, though, they're about to embark on some good fixtures. Pretty good fixtures, actually. We will look at fixtures in a bit, but they've got Burnley, Brentford at home, Palace away, Luton at home in the next 5. For those on wildcard, and I'm asking this because I'm thinking about it, like, does Awani just feel obvious? Does Taiwo just feel obvious for over the next 5-6 weeks as an easy way in with all this money that's swimming about?
I mean, you can go a lot of ways. This is the thing. I mean, we have to pick 7 attackers, of which one is Haaland, so 6 attackers, and there are 15 good options. So Awani is one of them. You could equally think that I'll just go Watkins from the beginning, because if I'm playing wildcard now, I won't have the luxury that other people will have to get Watkins for their game week 9 fixture swing. You could think that I could go for an Alvarez, because City's team leaks have been actually pretty good over the last, we have to, because we live in the world, we have to sort of plan for it now.
Yeah.
Because there will be weeks where they play on Saturdays now. In fact, in game week 5, that's the first kickoff, even though it's 3 p.m. Sorry, game week 6. So you will know. And that's Nottingham Forest at home. If you hold Alvarez, you're holding the trump card. So
it's true.
I think you can take advantage of that striker slot, and it feels odd because Awiniyi is doing really, really well. And to say don't pick him, it just feels a thing similar to like why people didn't pick Mbeumo. It's not a top 6 team. The data is there, but somebody else is a sexier pick, basically because they play for a better team, or their attack generally creates more chances. But does that matter if this guy is scoring every single goal that they create, or is involved in every single goal?
Yeah.
So I can see people going there.
Yeah. Cool. Luton West Ham. Under the lights in Kenilworth
Good
Road.
game. That was fun.
It was fun. I thought Luton started okay, but I did feel West Ham pretty much had most of the control of the game, which you'd expect to, but I don't think that they undersold themselves, Luton. And Kenilworth Road could be a difficult place for some teams to go. Could be. I don't know. For me, again, it was the right idea to go and punt against them. Their centre back pops up in the 90th minute and scores a goal to make it look like a somewhat respectable score, but really they didn't have much of the game until the last 15 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, there was a little bit of game state in this in terms of them upping their XG after the 60th minute or whatever you have here. The thing with Luton is when you watch their games, there are moments in the games where you go, these guys are in trouble. I mean, they are not Premier League level. And it's fair enough. They haven't spent the money. They're still retaining a big part of their squad. And at those moments, you just feel we have to target this team. I mean, think of the Sterling moments where he was just basically walking with the ball into their goal and taking the shots. So you can either say Luton tax or whatever with Chelsea or whatever. It's not a Chelsea discussion, but for Luton particularly, there are moments where they just are going to be picked apart by good teams.
I'm trying to think. I think I sent a message in the Discord on Friday, and I said it really felt like a lower to mid-table Premier League team against a mid-table Championship side in the FA Cup third round. That's kind of how the game felt as you went through it. Yeah. The quality is clearly not going to be there. They're going to struggle. I still think they're targetable. I just think, well, obviously we know over the next few weeks, there's just teams that we won't actually target them with. Fulham, correct. Everton, blah blah blah. We just won't target them with those. But
actually, there will be a period, after game week 8, where people can target them because Spurs play them in game week 8, game week 9, Forest play them. So our Newey chat. Then Villa play them in game week 10. Liverpool play them in 11. Man United play them in 12. Yeah. Crystal Palace in 13. These are popular. Brentford in 14. Arsenal, then Man City. So you could actually have legitimately a strategy where you say, I'm going to have double up attackers against these teams, or to the extent you can, obviously.
Yeah.
Because everyone is so cheap that you could think to do this, especially. So this is the difference between this Bowen strategy versus others. If you can attack the Luton fixture and the fixtures around that are also easier, you can sort of plan it that way. So, for example, Villa will play them in game week 10 at home, but they also have good fixtures around that. So legitimately, you can go, I'm going to go Diaby and Watkins for that game. And that's my attacking Luton. So I think people will have to almost sit and think about that wildcard. This is what I mean. If you're even looking to wildcard this week, what am I going to do after game week 9 when Luton becomes targetable for these teams?
Very good. Very good. Let's move on to Arsenal versus Man United. I will leave the floor with you on this one, mate.
I mean, what can I say? It was up until the 75th minute, I would have told you that actually very happy with the Man United performance. We were actually very good with playing out from the back, which has been years since we've done that. We were very good with the ball. We had control. There were moments where Man United had 66% possession. Arsenal had 33%. There were few chances. I mean, it was not like, this is not a huge XG game. I mean, that Jesus chance obviously completely skews it, and the Rice chance. Or actually before the Rice one, I think it was the Saka miss. That was the big one.
Yeah.
So before that, it was an even game. And I think the pattern of the play was quite clear. Arsenal tried to attack. Man United tried to transition quickly. And the first goal came exactly. I mean, the moment Rashford had the ball, I think a lot of us called it. Look, he's just going to go through. You had Saliba and I think it was White. They just couldn't keep up, even though everybody knew he's going to turn to his right. He's going to take a shot. It's going to curve. Neither Ramsdale nor Saliba nor White could basically stop him. And that was going to be the play. We tried a lot of long balls. Actually, Arsenal dealt with the long balls really well. So they didn't fall for the whole Brighton versus West Ham trap. So we tried that a lot. It didn't work. But the thing is, Man United didn't have a second midfielder. Eriksen played really well. But for his age and for his his general physical capacity, he just can't keep up for 90 minutes.
No.
Then you lose your centre back. You've already lost Varane. You lose Martinez. Then you lose your replacement Lindelof. Then you're playing with Evans and Maguire, and we give up a chance in the corner, which I think it's a chance in the corner. It's a set piece, and of course Rice scores.
Yeah. If
Garnacho's goal was not offside, this could have been a 2-1 Man United win. So
yeah, definitely.
So happy as a fan that the game was good. We're on a good trajectory. Obviously disappointed with the result.
I'm looking at the pass maps, and it really felt like it was a target Casemiro job. If you look at the positioning of, Nketiah and Havertz and Rice and Zinchenko, they're very, 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 very close together, just advanced to the halfway line. Casemiro just looked. I was watching one particular moment, and it just looked like he could not be asked. I mean, is there an issue there with him, like generally?
I think there's a little bit of a narrative. He does sometimes, he's susceptible to giving away the ball sometimes, which sounds odd because, he played with Kroos and Modric.
Yeah,
But he can sometimes be a little bit lazy with the pass and he gives it away. And that sort of immediately shows, oh, he doesn't care. But I don't think that's as new. It's just that people are picking it up more now because there's a little bit of a narrative that he's not giving it his all. But I just think he needs a better number 6 with him, maybe as a double pivot. So Amrabat would be a big change. And that guy would do the running as well as, he's good with progressive passing. So I think he would fit in well. And in the easier games, you play Mount, and I think that would work well. But at the moment, when he's playing alongside an Eriksen, he has to do a lot more running. He's susceptible to a yellow card. I wouldn't worry too much. I mean, that Garnacho pass was made by the assist was Casemiro, and that was a good one. So I think it was okay. It was a 7 on 10.
Yeah. Yeah, someone saying like that offside trap from Gabriel was brilliant. I mean, it was incredible to try and get just that extra inch or whatever it was. And I know Ten Hag was complaining about it and whatever, but yeah, I mean those are the margins that we're dealing with now in 2023 football. So from an Arsenal perspective, I think obviously it's a positive for them that Jesus is back. The goal was just like ridiculous. I mean, like I hate Arsenal as much as the next Tottenham fan. Don't get me wrong, but that finish,
that Jesus one.
Oh my god! Honestly, like, and they were saying that turned it from like a 0.25 xG chance to a 0.7 xG chance. Like he just created it himself. And yeah, of course the game was stretched at that point, etc. But like the calmness just to do that. I mean, he's ready to come back in. Like,
yeah. I mean, what he did with Dalot, every striker takes a shot and Dalot blocks it. To actually just not shoot at that moment. Yeah, it was great. I mean, look, always liked Jesus. But again, it's skewing the result. It's not a 3-1 Arsenal game. We were obviously overcommitted. There was no Johnny Evans, no Maguire. So it is what it is. But yeah, I think from their perspective, Jesus back. Martinelli had a great game. Everything. I mean, if you look at the pass map, their whole strategy was pass it to Martinelli, and then he would try to do some stuff, which was, he didn't get a lot of joy dribbling past Wan-Bissaka. Not many people do, but he did run, he did have pace and he did create some situations around Wan-Bissaka to create chances from there. So I think he had a good game. And I think people, obviously, I sold Martinelli, but he's always a good pick if he gets the minutes. And this time he played, pretty much 87, 88 minutes.
Yeah. Cool.
And not worried about Saka. I mean, obviously they didn't have the penalty, which was a blatant dive by Havertz. Agreed. So rightly he didn't get. I don't know who held the ball. I think it's always Odegaard who picks up the ball and then he gives it to someone.
Everyone's asking. I saw that all over Twitter. It's like, who's got the ball? Who's got the ball? No, and I think he would be holding the ball because that's kind of the meta now, is that the captain will take the ball and then give it to the penalty taker, whoever that may be now. So we don't know. Again, though we spoke to, we didn't speak to anyone. We saw that Odegaard said in that first game that he asked Saka if he could take the penalty because Saka is the penalty taker, right? So he felt good. He took it the first one. Then Saka obviously took the last one. No issues. I think Saka's still the penalty taker, so I don't think there's any issues with him there. Obviously, he had the big chance as well. Went straight at Onana, so nice and easy save that.
Yeah. Quick one on Man United mids. Obviously, they're popular. And Onana, by the way. Onana it's going to be difficult. I mean, we've got, I think, 3 home games in the next 4. So he's okay. But the defense, I wouldn't trust. I mean, this is, 3 home games in the next 4. But those home games are Brighton, Crystal Palace, Brentford. All good attacking teams. And the away game is Burnley. So the fixtures on paper look good. But from a defensive perspective, I wouldn't bank on clean sheets in any one of them. So, of course, you hold if you have Onana. In terms of attack, the problem today was because it was Eriksen and we had no backup, Bruno had to do a lot of backtracking.
Yeah.
It was a difficult game. I don't think there was any expectation for Bruno to get many points in this one. Obviously, he's always got that killer pass where he's put Rashford through on goal, and it happened a couple of times. So I'd be patient. I think both are good picks in isolation. And I think last thing is Højlund coming on was also good. He was making some good runs.
Positive.
Finally, we could pass the ball to somebody other than Rashford making runs.
He was aggressive as well. I mean, he wanted Saliba and Gabriel to know that he was there.
Like, yeah. I mean, he's physically, he was not there yet. He kept falling whenever he would try to be aggressive. But yeah, I think eventually he is the outlet that could help both Bruno and Rashford.
Yeah. Cool. No, it's got issues with my light there. Let's move on. Liverpool versus Villa. 3-0 here to Liverpool. Some standard Darwin Nunez big chance misses. The classic one you can see right there. Obviously, this is a Cash own goal. It's funny when we do these data plots. I'll speak to Sir Talp and see if there's anything we can do here. I'm not sure if we can, but for own goals, it puts it on the team that conceded the goal for some reason. So you can see the Cash thing there. That's actually obviously should be a Liverpool goal, but obviously Nunez hitting the post there and it's smashing Cash and going in. Trent getting himself a lucky assist, I would say. It's not often a ball across just makes its way through everyone, but great finish from Szoboszlai. Salah returns for about the 17 millionth game in a row, and no one's got him. Which is just so fucking mind-boggling. Like how we're just swerving Salah for fun now, and he just keeps returning. Like obviously we don't
Salah.
know. Say again.
We will have Salah very soon. This is what
assuming he
people need
stays.
to keep in mind.
Assuming he's still there.
Of course. But I think everything points towards him staying. Yeah. And from game week 9, we're going to have Salah.
Yeah, I think.
I'm pretty sure of it. And again, something for wildcarders to think about on what is their route to getting Salah, because I feel he'll be very, very popular from game week 9. He plays Everton at home, Nottingham Forest at home, Luton away. Just those 3 are good enough for getting him in. Then he plays Brentford at home. So the next 4 after game week 9 are absolutely crazy. Then there's a bad fixture against Man City away, although he always does well against Man City. Then he plays Fulham at home, Sheffield United away.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy.
Yeah. And yeah, I can't really add anything else to that.
Well, Trent really bossed the game. I think that was a summary of the game. If you didn't know who Trent is, you'd think he's almost De Bruyne in the way he was, back to the old Trent where he had the freedom. Obviously, Villa gave him the space as well, but he was pinging the passes. He was even shooting. This was prime Trent. I mean, yes, his assist was a little bit lucky, if you want to call it, but the fact that Szoboszlai scored, maybe he takes more corners from the right and Szoboszlai doesn't because of this combination. So again, I think I just read out the fixtures. Now to afford him, you'll have to make other sacrifices, maybe not get a good midfielder like a Maddison or a Son if you were to wildcard, which I don't think a lot of people will do. So I do still think Trent will go under the radar, maybe rightly so. But he's 3 bonus, clean sheet, assist. Trent is, as back as he can be. And I mean, he was never gone, but, he's showing us that he's still around.
Nice. Yeah, can't really add anything to that one.
And just last one on Villa.
Oh yeah, sorry. I was gonna mention Villa just because I know, a few people are looking at like Cash and stuff, and obviously we're going to be looking at Watkins, etc. I don't think there's anything. There's anything yet to say that we should be concerned. They do fall falter against better sides, but against teams that aren't at their level, I think they should be absolutely fine.
They should be good, yeah. And I just want people to remember that people play Liverpool and don't do well. I mean, there's this narrative that attackers do well against Liverpool. And I know people will say that with Spurs as well, and they could very well do that. But we should remember that Isak and the Newcastle attack played Liverpool, did pretty much nothing. Now Aston Villa has played Liverpool and done pretty much nothing, despite the weak defense. So bad fixture is a bad fixture. You could get lucky. Obviously, he scored a hat-trick in this fixture a couple of seasons ago, I think, Watkins. Yeah. But it's not an easy ride. And Liverpool are just low-key, because they're not in our minds from an FPL perspective, they're not really on our minds as a Premier League powerhouse. But at the moment, their performance has been very, very good. So I think they're looking at a good season.
Can't argue with that. Moving on to City versus Fulham, probably the most expected result of the weekend. I think everyone kind of half expected this to happen. I realise I've got something flying behind me now. Moth. But yeah, I mean, standard Haaland stuff. I mean, the assist for Alvarez was definitely a shot, 100%. I'm not having that it was a deliberate pass, but yeah, I don't know what happened in that first 20 minutes, 25 minutes. I don't know what they were doing to each other, but they just
They had agreed we'd start the game on the 30th minute. I mean,
clearly, like nothing happened. Like someone tweeted out, they were like, "This is not a drill. Man City have not had a shot at home to Fulham in the first 25 minutes." Couldn't believe it.
But this is it, right? I mean, this was the 3 p.m. game, so we didn't watch it live. I was listening to it, and on Soccer Saturday, they were like, "Oh, Haaland's not in the game at all. I've never seen him this uninvolved." And it's clearly, obviously, classic Haaland getting away with 3 goals and an assist. And some people triple captained him. What do you think about that?
I didn't hate it at all, and I don't know why we weren't thinking of that. To be honest, I genuinely don't know why we weren't talking about it. There have been people around that had just gone and said, "Oh, fucking content creators, triple captain, da da da," and people would have done it. Don't get me wrong. People do get influenced, but I don't even know why it wasn't even a discussion. Like they're the weakest team, and City are the strongest team, and they're at home. I don't. I'm not buying the whole like if you look at his was it the first 4 games this season versus the first 4 games last season, identical goals in each game. I'm not buying that bullshit.
Obviously, that's a statistical anomaly.
But yeah, I don't know why we weren't talking about it. But
look, I'm still happy to go by the same view. We've played darts, right? So let's imagine an easy fixture is standing a little bit closer to the dartboard, and you're trying to hit the bullseye. So you have an easy fixture, and you say you get 1 throw at the dartboard, and go and throw it. And sometimes you'll hit a bullseye, like here. And you'll say, oh, it was so obvious. You were so close to the dartboard. In a double game week, you're a little bit further back, but you get 2 darts and your scores add up. I will always pick throwing 2 darts. And that's just the way it is. And if people have gotten, I don't even want to say lucky. If they threw it through the 1 dart and hit the bullseye, well done to them. Congratulations. Yeah. I will not be doing it. And that's okay. We can play FPL differently because I know that sometimes when you have 1 dart, you can miss the whole bloody board and you end up with nothing. When you have 2 darts, at least you'll hit the board and do something, and so that your floor is a little bit higher. And I'll always, with the triple captainship, pick a higher floor, higher ceiling than 1 game in which I think it will go well, but it cannot. I mean, last year, Haaland at home to Bournemouth, what did he get? Nothing.
Yeah.
So it does sometimes happen, but you just have 2 shots. I always take 2 shots.
I love that analogy, mate. That's excellent. I love that. What are we thinking about City, generally speaking, though? Because obviously they've got tougher fixtures coming up. I think objectively, if you looked at this fixture run for any other team apart from City, you'd go, "Oh, bad fixtures, avoid." And I think for the most part, I think people will just go Haaland and then just ride it out. But I've seen already that like models like FPL Review are already suggesting like no Salah, no Haaland as an option. I assume through that period you'll have Haaland and no one else. And is this thing again like? Is this thing with the defense? Is this just bad luck? Are we saying this is just bad luck that Tim Ream just won't be standing half a yard out to tap it in every week?
You can't. I mean, with City defense, you just play and pray. They will concede a couple of chances a game, and that's it. You'll have defenders from other teams that will concede 8 and sometimes keep a clean sheet. It doesn't even bother me anymore. I mean, I've been an Edison sufferer for a very long time, and I got Diaz for the same reasons. My philosophy is I'll play Diaz for the next 4 games. If he gets 2 clean sheets, I'm happy. If he gets less than that, I'm unlucky, and if he gets more, then I'm lucky. So I don't even look at XG conceded because I know City will be the best in the next 5 game weeks.
Yeah.
And yeah, we just ride it out.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Let's talk Alvarez. A lot of people have Jackson, Pedro, Watkins, who all blanked.
Yep.
And then you see this guy who's playing just next to Haaland, having fun, and people will sort of be knee jerky. Where are you with that?
Yeah, I think it's something I was speaking about it earlier on with Tottenham and this 4-2-4 thing. So I just wanted just to bring this up. So like this was Tottenham in 4-2-4 kind of formation, and we went and asked. Obviously, they went and asked Ange, about his Udogie thing, and same thing here, really.
See, I'm just copying Pep, mate.
He just copies Pep. That's it. No, I'm joking. But if you do look at the Man City 4-2-4 in possession, I mean, it's very similar. It's very similar in the way they're attacking. So you've obviously got Rodri and Kovacic in the two behind, in this instance, Doku, Haaland, Alvarez, and Foden. When they're playing like this, like if they're playing like this, like one behind the other, like there's no one that will replace him in that position. I don't think, unless you have Bernardo on the right and Foden behind. Like that's the only permutation I think you can see. So I don't know. Well, I just wonder whether he's going to start every game. I mean, the Europe thing will throw things up in the air for Alvarez, Foden, and Bernardo Silva. I don't think it's going to have much impact on Haaland. To be honest, it never seems to. I don't know. I know that I've got Foden and I haven't got Alvarez. I think you can have one. I don't think you'd want two. Because one's going to play, and you just don't want the wrong one.
I mean, the Doku start was interesting because people just thought he'll be eased in very slowly. And actually, he had a very good game. I mean, not from an attacking perspective, but he worked really hard. And we know that Pep appreciates that side more. Look at Grealish, for example. So he was almost told that, look, the difference between you being in this team and Saint Maximin is you can do everything Saint Maximin can do with the dribbling, but I want you to also be the hard worker who helps out at the back and not give the ball away. And I think you could see that he was following instructions. Now, in the first 20 minutes that we talked about, neither him or Foden were in the game. So then they switched flanks. And so they tried a lot of stuff to sort of make it work. But eventually, I think when Foden was on the left, Doku was on the right, it worked a lot better. And Foden wasn't really obviously on the left because, again, I think one other thing we didn't talk about, you look at XG and you think Foden created 0.04 XGI. Another reason why one match XG just doesn't tell the story. Yeah. There were so many instances where he was walking into the box, made that cross to Haaland, he just couldn't reach it. So obviously that is not captured in the XG plot. There were many chances where he could have even shot and he ended up passing to someone else and who passed to someone else. So he didn't get that XGI. Yeah. I think out of the three midfielders this week, Sterling, Maddison, Foden, I really think Foden was the unluckiest out of them. Even though Foden was lucky to get the VAR assist, I think he was unluckiest to come away with a 5-5-1 and not get more points.
Yeah. Yep. No, fair enough. Fair enough. I'm just going to take an opportunity once again to say, if you haven't liked the video already, then make sure you do like the video. It's free. It's easy to do. We're heading towards 6,000 subs now as well. So make sure you hit that subscribe button if you want to see more content over the international break. And I think we can tell everyone now, I didn't mention this to Baker. I didn't say to Baker, I think we've confirmed that Mark Southerns is going to come and join us during the international break. And yeah, so we'll get to chat to Mark. I think we're trying for like Friday. I think we're going to go early this week and try Friday rather than Sunday. But we'll see. That might be Sunday. But yeah, and we've got more stuff coming all the way through the international break as well. And yeah, do that stuff. It's nice. It's nice for us. We love the free stuff, and hopefully you love the free stuff too. Moving on to Brighton versus Newcastle. I thought this game was fun as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think this game's XG plot is really, really nice because it captures it really well. Where Newcastle, when they started, Isak was through a couple of times and I just felt, Brighton are going to get a spanking from Newcastle. I mean, at least in the first 20 minutes, it felt Newcastle are up really, really on it. And then obviously once Ferguson scored, they completely dominated thereafter. I don't remember, apart from the Wilson goal, any big chance or any time where they were threatened, and Brighton were completely on it.
Billy Gilmour was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like Gilmour was unbelievable. He absolutely ran it. They were so much more balanced this week. They weren't so sort of one side heavy. Estupiñán was a lot deeper generally. Although it did make me laugh when you this is on you, mate. I'm putting this on you now. If anyone didn't see Praz's tweet that says Estupiñán caught offside in the 93rd minute, that's my guy, or something along those lines.
What a guy!
What a guy! 3-0 up, offside in the 93rd
Within a minute,
minute.
same side, Wilson scores.
Yeah. So, but they were a lot more balanced, and you know, as usual, actually, Solly March is just ridiculously advanced all the time, and he just looks better and better as a footballer. Like, because just enjoy watching him play. Ferguson, like, what can you say about him? I mean, I just hope that this is almost a kick forward now. I mean, like, it just, not that I don't dislike the guy, but it just annoys me when Welbeck plays over someone like Ferguson. And I know Ferguson's young and raw and stuff like that, but you know, this is the give the guy a chance, give the guy a run type thing. When you've got what I think is clearly the talent, then you know he needs a run, because he's already being touted as like Brighton's next big money sale, like already.
He's a Man United fan, by the way.
Well, there you go. There you go. So, you know, there's an option there, and then Chelsea will just bid 150 million and you'll be just left behind.
Exactly.
But the fixtures at the moment just aren't right. Not quite. But again,
not at all. Not at all. And so I think just in terms of Brighton first, the structure. So Veltman playing right back, Gross playing in the middle with Gilmore makes a big difference, as you mentioned. So they had a lot more control, which when you compare with, you know, they were up against Tonali, Bruno, and Joe Linton, 3 powerhouses.
Yeah.
And still they control the midfield, which is tremendous. Yeah, I think the one thing with the attack is Welbeck has been quite injury prone throughout his career. And he's had this period now over the last 18 months where he's been reasonably fit and he's got a lot of minutes. I think Ferguson time could be now, not in our FPL teams, but for Brighton, because now Welbeck's out. You don't know how long he nurses this for, how he comes back into the system. They have nobody else. They've sold Undav. There's nobody else who can play the number 10 position. I mean, they could play João Pedro there, but he's more suited to the 9. So he could be the one.
It could be. I thought João Pedro was rubbish yesterday as well. I just thought
he worked hard.
Bad.
He worked hard, not as an FPL asset because you wanted him to score.
Well, yeah, exactly.
But I think he worked very, very hard to break up their build-up.
Yeah, was I watching without the sound or something like that? But yeah, I think I turned on the sound. The commentator said that he had worked hard, but every time I saw him on the ball, I thought it was quite poor. Like off the ball worked well, but on the ball, I thought he was really poor. Passing touch and just wasn't really involved. So he's a problem for me. And as I've alluded to already, I'm pretty close to a wild card, so it's he won't be involved in that.
Before pressing the button, make a wild card.
Oh yeah.
This is an advice for everyone, because the problem this year is you will not even be happy with your wild card, because right now you're not happy with your team because you want 10 other players. You'll make a wildcard team and you'll realize you'll still need 10 other players.
There is that. There is that. There's no sort of definitive. There's no definitive fixture swing. I don't think, not for any of the big teams, other than City and Arsenal both going the other way, which is a problem.
I agree, and I think, but there's a counter to that. The counter to that is this year, it's not very difficult to jump on and off fixture swings because the price points are there. I mean, you have Haaland. So apart from getting to Salah, which could be difficult, you could just choose to say, look, I'm not going to go there. It's okay. I'll go Darwin if he keeps starting, or I'll go Diaz. So you could just say those price points are there. I've got Jackson, I can go up to Watkins. I've got Umbumo, I can, or let's say Sterling, I can go down to Diaby. If I want, from Bruno, I can go to Diaz. So there are price points there for you to move through fixture swings, but you just need to plan it really well if you're doing it now. Yeah. you have to remove the early temptations. And I think people who'll be wildcarding now will probably remove the Chelsea temptations. So you will already be set up for the longer term, where you're removing the very short-term picks and you're going for longer-term picks like Spurs, like City, maybe even, a little bit of Newcastle, who have longer-term good fixtures. But then let's come to Newcastle, which is Newcastle defense. A lot of people will be put off by this performance. Where are you? Is that even in your plan to think about Newcastle defense or Trippier?
I just think it's going to be a fixtures play. I think you have to go there, and I just think it's going to be a fixtures play. I don't think there's worth overthinking it there. Plus, now as well, they have to pick up points in the league. They just have to. They can't afford not to, right? They're in a position now, like 3 losses out of the first 4 games. This is a problem. And then they go into these easy fixtures, and then they have to walk into like Dortmund and PSG, and like this is not fun. Man City in the League Cup, and then Milan as well. I mean, this is not fun. I mean, they've got Man City and PSG like bookend Burnley at home.
Yeah,
my Christ, that's tough. It's going to be tough for Eddie Howe. I mean, I don't envy him for what he's going to have to do in those games, and he might just roll the same team out 3 times in a row. He might do, but I don't know. It raises the question on Wilson for me as well, and I know Baker, was not happy about me trying to put him into a wildcard draft last week. And look, he's not a great pick. He doesn't start, but these, we can create narratives and say that it doesn't matter if he comes on, then I will have him for the hauls. It's just like, can you start him? I don't know. He always comes on, so he's always getting some minutes, but are the minutes useful? I don't know. It's really difficult with that one, and especially this one here when they were chasing the game, they went with Isak and Wilson at the same time, whereas normally it will be one replaces the other. So I don't know. Defense wise, I think, as I say, I think it's just fixtures. You just play the fixtures, you get one in, and go with that. And I think if you're not finding a way to Trent, then Trippier. If you want to find a way to Trent, I think you have to try and get share in or something like that.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. If you're wildcarding in game week 9, which could be a popular window, then you don't have to commit. You can just use your money on Trippier, get him for Sheffield United, Burnley, Brentford, West Ham, and then chuck him if you don't think he's value. Equally, you can just say, look, I'm going to monitor them for the next 4 game weeks. I don't need to commit on Newcastle defense. But after, when I wildcard, I'll want something, whether that's just Botman, even that's okay. But you will need something. I mean, people hate me for very long-term planning, but game week 18 is the Haaland blank. That's when Newcastle play Luton. So if you have a Botman in your bench, that's one position which you've said, okay, I don't need to worry about it. So these are things, if you're wildcarding today, you need to have in mind on how are you going to manage a team like Newcastle who will be popular going forward, because their fixtures after are really, really, reasonable, where you can play them in many of the fixtures, like we mentioned in the past. There's Luton, Fulham, Everton, Bournemouth, Wolves after game week 10. So yeah, I think it's really personal choice. I think people who've got Trippier are in a position like the people who had Son, where not many people will do it until Trippier gets his first haul. So the first haul that Trippier gets, it's all yours. People will probably wait for that first haul to go there.
Yeah. Cool. Let's move on to Brentford versus Bournemouth. It's a very unusual Brentford XG plot, this one, with lots and lots of small chances apart from near the end. Obviously, Boomer had 2 big chances. Right, Boomo. I absolutely hate owning him. I literally hate it because I just don't like where he is for 95% of the game. Like, yeah, he was at a point where, and I know this is very much framed, but he was at a point where it was like 150 minutes of football. We'd like gone on a game and a half and had 0.04 XG, and I'm like, why do I want him when I could have had Maddison, who's involved in absolutely everything? Like, I just can't comprehend it. And Baker just keeps grounding me. He's like, look, he gets penalties and all this sort of stuff. He wasn't going up front, but then all of a sudden he was up front. He obviously missed the big chance.
But in that big chance, he was not up front.
No. He was coming in off the right.
Correct. So we just I think we have a bias towards players who play not through the middle. The whole Maddison or Bruno appeal,
Mm.
where the guy is running the show, or Foden when he's playing through the middle. We have this thing of this guy is just running the show. From an FPL point of view, I don't care. He's created more XGI than any other player in the game. Obviously, it includes 2 penalties, but Haaland's got 2 penalties as well. He's higher than Haaland. This is not a drill. So I don't care. He's getting the underlyings, he's getting minutes, and he's getting penalties. You put him in your team, especially if he has good fixtures. Don't watch the game if you don't like it.
that's the way to do it. If someone said that to me yesterday, like, just don't watch the game. I was like, yeah, it's kind of tough when you have to talk about it on a Sunday night, though.
Watch the highlights. Umbuma's great in highlights.
It's true. He's great in highlights, unless he misses big bloody chances like that. Like, you have to know that he's returned, because if he doesn't return, and if he doesn't return in that game and he misses that big chance, I'm breaking the TV or something. Honestly, it's just. Because I sent that once. It took me like 5 goes to get that screenshot just of how bad that chance was that he missed. But I mean, his goal was excellent, like a wonderful turn, and really cool finish, really cool finish. So yeah, he's forgiven for now.
Yeah, and that second that Brooks chance, obviously that was the Henry mistake, right? Rico Henry mistake, and obviously it's showing this 0.99 xg. Is that right?
That is right. Why? I'm trying to recall it. Did he? Because he rounded him though. He rounded Flecken, didn't he?
Yeah. Then he just walked into the goal, literally.
Yeah.
So, but if you look at it, I mean, if you remove that, then it was a controlled defensive performance. I think we expected that. Yeah. Bournemouth are a little bit of a difficult team to call for me right now. What do you think? What do you think of them? Are they one to target, or because they do conduct themselves well on
they
the
look
pitch?
Okay, don't they? They look okay on the pitch. I don't think there's too much. I mean, their fixtures haven't been great. The fixtures aren't going to get too great because they're Bournemouth at the end of the day. But I think they'll be okay in waves. I mean, I just can't see myself going to any of their assets. I mean, I can't see Solanke being an option at any point, even though we've got not great strikers right now. But I still can't see him being an option. There's not a period of time where I'd want him over someone else. Like, I mean, so if you look at 8, 9, 10, it's probably where you want him. But I'd probably have Taiwo for 7, 8, 9, and then, then I'm looking elsewhere. Going back to Ferguson for game week 10, for example, and just riding on that. I just can't see a time where I feel like there'll be a good option. I just don't feel, and we've never ever looked at their defenders, like never.
Yeah, but Solanke could be interesting, or I even think we need to sort of be on top of Bournemouth just even to see if, sometimes we're lazy to say, oh, he's playing Luton, Bournemouth, Burnley, and whatever. I think over time, we will understand that is Bournemouth the same as Luton, or Bournemouth the same as a West Ham, for example. Yeah. Obviously, I'm using bookends, but it's not the same. So I don't yet know where they fall.
Yeah. Fair enough. Palace versus Wolves. I mean, this had way more goals than I expected to. Way more. Palace are good going forward. They're an exciting team. Edouard Eze, good players. And Mateta did well when he came on. I was at the beach. I was literally at the beach. So just a quick shout out to FPL Swanson, who wandered down the beach and came and said hello to me. So, that was good. He did prove that I was actually on the beach. Which was good, and it was actually 25 degrees in Aberdeen today, which was mental. But yeah, so I didn't really watch this. I kind of watched the highlights, and I've seen the goals, and not seen much else, to be quite honest. And even the highlights that I watched didn't actually have the Cunha goal on, so I have no idea how that what happened there. I didn't watch the YouTube ones. I watched something else, and it cut it off after the Edouard third goal. So I have no idea.
I don't think there's too much takeaway here. No surprises. That Palace are a good attack. No surprises that Eze has finally scored after doing so well in his underlyings. I mean, I'm surprised people lost faith, but I also understand his price dropped inexplicably to 6.3. He's a good pick. He's also on penalties. He's just not had a penalty yet. And maybe he should have. There was a VAR call.
I saw that. That was not a penalty.
Yeah. You don't think?
Nah. He doesn't come to contact with his foot. I don't think that's a penalty. It was as much a penalty as Havertz today.
Well, Havertz was a dive.
There you go then.
But anyway, I think because if you just look at the volume of penalties per team, you can count yourself unlucky that Palace haven't had one in the first 4 weeks where other teams have had two. I mean, or even three Arsenal could have had today. So that's a little bit of a thing with Eze. But, Edward looks great. Mateta was great when he came on. I mean, his layoff to Eze was great from his back. And he just sort of provided a good shield. So good attack, Palace.
Cool. There's not much else. I mean, they've got 3 good home games in the next. They've got 2 good home games in the next 4. Fulham and Forest. Although our Forest a good home team. They've also got next week Villa and then United in game week 7. So it's still a bit of a. You could have some fun back in game week 11, I think. But I just think until now, just leave it. And Wolves. Nah. Like it's weird actually. Like for Wolves, up until game week 14, all of their good games, or highlighted as their good games, they're all away.
Yeah.
Luton, Bournemouth, Sheffield United, Fulham, all away. Which means we could have some fun with them in the back end of the season. Because they're all going to be at home. But for now, no need.
17 points in the last 2 game weeks from game week 1 legend.
Yeah,
Neto.
I know. Yeah, still not going there.
It is what it is.
And then we close with the first game of the game week, funnily enough, actually.
Well, first on Saturday.
Oh, sorry, first on Saturday. Yes, it was. Yeah, it was. Yeah. Like the Pickford own goal, as I said earlier, was just. I don't know. I think, and this is, I don't know if this is a hot take, or I think Everton have been really unlucky this season. Like, I think they probably should have won 3 out of 4 of their games. Like, they should be sitting on like 9 points or something, and they've just been absolutely murdered by bad finishing. Absolutely murdered by bad finishing.
Not ideal defending, and a little bit of bad luck. I mean, that shot. I mean, the Archer shot was good, but if it hits you in the back, same with the Cash own goal.
Yeah,
it's just bad luck. You can't do anything about that.
Yeah. Pickford's just lying there. Cash is moving at a million miles an hour. If it hits you, it just goes where it goes. End of story. But yeah, I thought Beto looked all right. Actually, I thought he looked interesting. Looked good for them. Big guy, obviously carries himself well. Quite quick as well. Whether that, I mean, we have to almost caveat that and say it was Sheffield United. But they've obviously got tougher fixtures to come. But in fact, their fixtures over the next 4 aren't terrible. I mean, apart from Arsenal next week. But then Brentford, Luton, Bournemouth.
Turner anyway.
Say again?
I mean, people will play Turner anyway. So I think if you're looking at it from
Yeah. Oh, so from a Pickford point of view, I think if you're not wildcarding and you have Pickford, I think you just keep him. I think it's just
there's no one to go to.
yeah, because nobody else is keeping clean sheets anyway. And the fixtures are good. The fixtures are there at home as well against Luton, Bournemouth. They will likely do well. I think they'll do well in those games from a domination of the game perspective. I think they'll do well. Away at Brentford is going to be tough. It's listed as a green fixture on Legamane's sort of hop on, hop off, but I think that's going to be a tough fixture for them.
I agreed. I think you guys were talking about it. I heard somebody talk about it, that if after this easy run, if Everton still are on basically in the bottom 5, then they're in massive trouble because they go on a terrible run.
So let's read this. So from game week 9, their good games are away at West Ham, away at Palace, away at Forest, and away at Burnley. And then their bad games in that run, they start with Liverpool away, then they go Brighton, then they've got Brighton at home after West Ham, then they've got Man Utd at home after Palace, Newcastle at home, and Chelsea at home after Forest, and then they've got Tottenham and Man City after Burnley. I mean, yeah, they need to pick up points. They've been unlucky, but that's not going to be good enough. That's not going to be good enough.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, they need to pick up points urgently. I don't know whether there's anything to add to that. Archer looks the business, to be fair.
He's great. He's great. And I think I think people were talking about Norgard taking penalties, but he missed one last season. They only got one. If your striker is scoring goals, he just picks up the ball and takes pens. I mean, there's a decent chance he's on pens.
Got Timo Pukki vibes about it, but cheaper.
So this is going to be a dilemma for people on wildcard, because I think there's 2 ways you can go on your wild card, or even otherwise, where you can say, I'm going to have 8 attackers because I've never had such value ever in FPL. One of them could be, let's say, Alvarez, and I only play him if I hear the news that he's starting. I think that's a legitimate way to play. The other way is to say, I've been given a gift in Archer. This is the new gift. Pedro was not the gift. Archer is the gift.
Yeah.
And I'm just not now going to worry about my bench so much because he is now the guy who comes in if I ever need it. I mean, you could have Archer playing against Spurs away. Doesn't matter. He's a striker. If they score, he should be involved. So just changes the dynamics a little bit.
Yeah. Agreed. If anyone has any questions, just drop them in the chat now. We'll just do like 5 minutes of questions. We've been going for about an hour and 20 minutes. And don't make them too tough. I mean, obviously there's international break, so we're going to be taking a mental break, I think, if we can. So I don't want to see like Son or Maddison. Like, let's just wait because
you already said Son, man. I've noted that.
Yeah, good. That's all right. Well, the interesting thing about Son is obviously that let's just switch back to here now. We finished talking about the games. Interesting thing about Son is obviously he's away at international duty and he plays in Wales and he plays at St James's Park. So he's not going anywhere. He's not going out to Asia to play for South Korea. They're both in the UK. So yeah, have a look.
You're saying we can do early transfers for Son?
Baker did it yesterday. Baker literally brought in Son for Rashford yesterday.
You're joking.
Ask him.
Crazy.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't hate it. I mean, I didn't move on it because I knew that Son wasn't going up yesterday. He might go up today, which might mean that I might make that move. And then if I have to wild card, at least I've already made the move, so I've got the price. So, are there some potential? So, Stian Kane Elsian says, are there some potential wild card template FPL strategies that are under scrutiny this season? For example, cheap bench template with a luxury attacking fixture rotation bench work or other templates. So can we mix it up a little bit? I think is what.
Yeah, so that was my point on you could play 8 attackers and 4 good defenders and rotate them around. Now, rotation works sometimes it doesn't. Rashford blanked in his easy fixture against Wolves and scored against Arsenal. So it's just you're playing with fire when you do that. But if you're doing it for a rotation asset, so for example, I keep using Alvarez as an example, but he would be the perfect 8th attacker where you play him when you hear some news or you still think he's getting the minutes, and you don't have to play him if you think he's out. So I think for that, I think there are some good strategies. I think even in defense, we've got some good 4.5 defenders. Udogi is one, Henry is one, Botman is one. You could think about a rotation in that as well as having some of the good attacking ones, like in Estupiñán. For example, a lot of people are thinking of selling Estupiñán because of the difficult fixtures. You could just have that rotation as your 4th, 5th defender and just keep him for value.
Yeah.
So I think that's where you could be a little different this year.
Yeah. So FFA asks, what's your thoughts on Pedro Porro? My thoughts are rewind about 45 minutes to an hour and you'll hear them. Basically, I did mention about Porro back then, so just go check those out. I'm just gonna have a quick look to see if we had any questions in our Discord which you wouldn't have seen. Steve asks about a wild card draft. I think we'll just do that in Discord, mate. Regardless of money, Porro or Udogi, I'll let you answer that one. What do you think?
Sorry, which one? Ask
Porro or Udogi?
I'm intrigued with Porro, and but I obviously fear Emerson Royal any game. So if you tell me Porro starting, then just for the fact that everybody else has got some points from Udogi, I'm more tempted to go Porro for no reason other than just having a little bit of a difference to others. But Udogi is a good pick. I mean, it's turning out to be a great pick.
Yeah. One free transfer for game week 5. Would you dump Pedro or Jackson?
Definitely Pedro. Definitely Pedro. Hold tight on Jackson, man. I mean, don't give up. I mean, yes, he's not great on the eye. He's creating a lot of XG. And you see, when players create XG, look at Eze. There's many examples of people doing it, disappointing, and then coming through. Look at Bruno, game week 1 and 2. Then he scores in game week 3 or assists in game week 3 as well. So hold tight.
Yeah. There's a question, lots to talk about Salah from game week 9, but he's next to a Wolves away and West Ham at home. If he doesn't go to Saudi, should we just get him in now?
Could do. I mean, you'll be the problem is you will struggle with Son, Salah, Watkins, and Haaland, which is I think Watkins, Salah, and Haaland is going to be very template at from game week 9 in terms of the wild card.
Yeah.
So you just have to think, do you really want to squeeze your budget that much? So this is obviously the other way to play, where you can squeeze your budget with Son, Salah, Haaland, and Watkins, and then go that way. But you'll have to make sacrifices elsewhere.
Yeah. I've just pulled up the fixtures. I don't know why I didn't just go to this before, but it was just for people that may be looking at sort of a little at wild card or at making transfers now and early and stuff like that, which are the sort of teams that are interesting. I put Palace there, but I completely forgot. Obviously, they played Wolves today, so they've only really got 2 good fixtures in the next 5. But still, their 2 home fixtures are both pretty good. Newcastle, obviously, United have got a nice little run. Burnley, Palace, Brentford, and Sheffield United there after they face Brighton at home next week. City, obviously, City. And, I'm highlighting Forest as well. I just think that they have... Steve Cooper's got them set up well this season. And, Burnley next week, then obviously a really hard game at the Etihad, but then Brentford at home should be okay. Then Palace and Luton. They're not incredible, but, they're not bad. There are some really difficult fixtures for a lot of other teams. And like the only other good ones I can really see is like Luton's run. Like no one's picking Luton players.
See, but the thing is, if you stretch this out beyond game week 10, because if you're wildcarding now...
I've not got enough space on the screen, Pras. Come on.
I know what you mean, but for people who are thinking about wildcarding, stretch it out to 15, because then some other teams will come out here, which is Liverpool, Villa, West Ham. And these are the teams that you'll want to target from game week 8, 9, and that will be the target of people who are not wildcarding today, but wildcarding in game week 9. So you need to either think, shall I just get some of them now? Or you need to think, what is going to be my route to get there? Because I don't think you can just say, I'm going to skip Ollie Watkins and I'm going to stick with Alvarez. When Alvarez plays, I'm going to pull it up. From game week 9, he's going to play Brighton, Man United, Chelsea, Liverpool, Spurs, and Villa. So yes, you can still keep Haaland. A lot of models will actually even recommend selling Haaland. We're not going to tell you to do that. But you're going to have to think about, how can I get to a Watkins? And I'm going to put up Watkins fixtures now from game week 9. He's going to play West Ham, Luton, Nottingham Forest, Fulham.
Yeah.
So that's basically what you... So if you stretch it out, you'll get a little bit of a longer horizon, because you need to have that longer horizon on wildcard.
Fair enough. Cool. So hold on, I'm going to get back to the main view now. Let's get that going. Last couple of questions. I know quite a few have come in. I've just scrolled away from stuff now. Thoughts on waiting until the deadline before transferring rather than moved based on pricing changes? Kind of a more general point, this one. What's your feeling on that? Do we still think that information is more important than price at the moment?
I mean, international break is a little bit an awkward one, where some people like you who are on the verge of a wild card can say, I'm just going to take a couple of transfers now. And if something drastically changes, I'll just pull the wild card. I've done that in the past in terms of strategy when there was no clear window. But for me this year, there's a clearer window in game week 9. So I'm not going to do that. It's a risk reward play. I mean, if you, let's say, look, let's take Sterling as an example. I went a little bit earlier on Sterling. I didn't do the Saturday transfer, but I did the Wednesday night transfer. So I have 0.1 now in Sterling. So if people start to lose patience in Sterling, I don't lose any value, because I got this 0.1 rise, as opposed to somebody else who got Sterling on a Friday and is now panicking that I'm going to start losing sell value if Sterling drops. So that little bit, if your psychology is such that a price drop is going to affect you, you're going to make transfers in the future, take your risk. But I think 2 weeks before an international break, injuries happen anytime. So for me, I'm going to find it difficult to do a move that early.
Yeah. Last one, I'll just ask, is Jesus the obvious option to replace Jackson? God, he's been awful. I mean, I think he's ready to come back in. I think Arteta's going to have to trust him to come back in. Their fixtures aren't incredible over the next 5, but again, game week 10, I guess, is when it will come back. Everton away, Spurs at home, Bournemouth away, City at home, Chelsea away next 5. again, wild card feels like I don't mind it on a wild card. I just think it's a little touch early if it's just for a transfer now. I just think there's better options. Again, I've mentioned Taiwo, for example. I think Taiwo is a really good option over the next 5 weeks. Just he's a really good option.
Good option on wildcard, actually, because you can get to Jesus 3 weeks, then Watkins in game week 8.
Yeah. True. Cool. So we will leave it there. I think we've just done about an hour and 20 minutes, just over an hour and 20 minutes. That's not too bad. Is there anything you would like to add before I say thank you and do the usual blurb at the end?
No, take some rest. Obviously, down at the wire, we'll do an episode on wildcard windows over the midweek. So if you're thinking about your wildcard, or even if you've played your wildcard, or you're looking to plan a wildcard, then that's something you could look out for.
Cool. How dare you plug another podcast on this podcast? No, I'm joking.
That's where you're getting to.
I was getting exactly there. Don't worry. Yeah. So midweek, guys, go and watch the FPL Wire. Go watch Pras, Pranil, and Zoff do their thing on the wildcard windows. That would be great. And once again, to ask on your way out, if you want to like the video, that would be wonderful. Make sure you hit subscribe. Thank you to the guys that support us over on Patreon, patreon.com/AboveAverageFPL. Latest guys into the Discord are Wirral Robin. My name is the Hulk. Brilliant. And FPL Boca Rooster. So welcome to you guys. And we will be back. Baker will be back for our next one. I think, as I say, is going to be with Mark Southerns. So really looking forward to that. So we met Mark briefly, I should say, at Fantasy Football Fest. And hopefully we can get something sorted during the international break. I think, as I say, it's going to be Friday, but look out for that one. Thanks, as always, Pras. You know, I sent a message to you. I was like, mate, can you help out on Sunday? You said straight away, yes, I'm here, I'm good. And we were hoping for a United win. Unfortunately, we didn't get that. But thank you, mate, for joining me. It's been great.
Always a pleasure, and speedy recovery to Baker.
Absolutely. And yeah, speak to you later, mate.
Take care.
Cheers.